Classic, join the Illuminati, get fame, fortune, wealth, just call this WhatsApp number and you can become a Freemason.
So getting involved with Masonry, it's really actually quite simple, and a lot of people don't know that.
I'd be like, hey Papa, what is this? And, well, that's a Mason's ring. Well, can you be a Mason? No, I can't be a Mason. Well, can I be a Mason? No, you can't be a Mason. So I grew up kind of like just thinking that I could never be a Mason. There was no possibility.
The basic phrase that you hear is, to be a Mason, you have to ask a Mason. And that's it.
The reason why it was started, nobody really knows.
So it's religious. It's more of a cult-like religion than anything. It segregates people according to their skin color. It bans people from entering according to their gender.
But it's, everyone's like, oh, it's Washington, D.C. is this Masonic, blah, 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 and that's where everybody meets. At the time, the majority of people who were running the country happened to be Masons, but there wasn't the connection that people are making it out to be. But it's the creation of the United States for sure. George Washington, there's that famous painting of him being sworn in with his hand on the Bible.
A lot of people didn't like the fact that George Washington was a Freemason.
And that's also part of the American judicial system. Where that comes from is that George Washington was a Freemason, and he wanted to be sworn into the country in a similar fashion as his Masonic obligations.
Binding myself under no less a penalty than that of having my throat cut across, my tongue torn out by its roots, and buried in the rough sands of the sea at low water mark, where the tide ebbs and flows twice in 24 hours, should I ever knowingly or willingly violate this my solemn oath or obligation as an entered apprentice Mason. You know when they tell you this? Before they teach you about anything that's in there.
So they didn't know what they were doing. And so he had somebody run to his lodge and get the Bible. And so he swore with his hand on that. So that's an interesting part of American culture that we don't realize where it comes from. With the creation of the United States, there's that misconception that the Masons are ones holding all the power and in charge of everything. And that's like saying that everybody at the bank has money. That's where the money is.
My name's Charles Leatherwood. I'm the Worshipful Master of Wolfworth Friendship 1447, the Little Lodge on the Prairie.
When did you join the Freemasons?
Woo! 2005.
Okay, 2005. And how did you hear about it? What got you into that?
My entire family was in Masonry. My father passed away in 1997. I kind of asked him about it, but he never gave me any information. And at his Masonic funeral, they said that is the last Leatherwood to be in the Crosbyton Lodge.
Dang,
so,
crazy.
Yeah, kind of crazy and sad. I got a knife in my heart, so I got busy and got in, and then I transferred to Crosbyton and started that tradition again. And I was master of that lodge in 2011. So
how do you become a master of a lodge?
You basically go through all the stations. I don't know if y'all went through all those yet. You start off as a junior deacon, senior deacon, junior warden, senior warden, and then if the lodge votes you in, you move into the Worshipful Master. The lodge votes for 5 positions: the Worshipful Master, senior warden, junior warden, treasurer, and secretary. Those are voted on. The rest of them are appointed by the master.
Cool.
Once you become a Mason, then there's opportunities to go deeper into Masonry with other, what we call the appendant bodies. But the highest level you get is a 3rd degree Master Mason, and that's what we call the Blue Lodge.
It's misleading. It looks like these guys will be above these guys. It's absolutely not. When you hear your granddad say like, oh, my granddad was a 3rd degree Mason, that just means he was in the Scottish Rite. The highest you can go is a Master Mason, period.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah. The higher you up, the more knowledge that you're going to get about how the organization works, that kind of thing. I've heard of that thought process quite a bit, though. And that's another thing online, that, the higher you get in the Scottish Rite, when you get to the very top, you find out that it's all evil and yada, yada, yada.
So if you could flip this upside down, it would be Master Mason up here. And then below that are all these appendant bodies, which is Scottish Rite, York Rite, and all of these here. They're all appendant bodies of it. you don't necessarily, a Scottish Rite has to be a Blue Lodge Master Mason first. So not all Masons are Scottish Rite, but all Scottish Rite Masons are, all Scottish Rite Masons are Masons.
How do you feel about, like all of the conspiracies that go around with Freemasons, like worshiping the devil and things like that?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of things on the internet. Only believe about 2% of them. A lot of people believe we're a secret society. We're not a secret society. We meet every first Tuesday night at 7:30. We're here. The only thing that is secret is our degree work, our memory work that we have to do to become a Master Mason. That is the only thing that's secret. There's nothing written. It's been passed down from tongue to ear since this thing started in the 1400s, I believe. We do a lot of work for the community. This lodge, we give scholarships to Friendship High School every year. This year we've raised enough money, we're hopefully going to be able to give 3 $1,000 scholarships this year. We recognize people in our community. We have a Community Builder Award. That a couple of years ago, that Storm Uri, when everything was, remember all the water lines were froze up, we gave an award to the water department. Those guys didn't go home for 3 or 4 days. Recognize people in the community, but we really try to be seen in the community. We do that. We do a lot of, like, we'll have a breakfast for all the first responders, fire, police, all those, EMS. So we're really in the community. I guess you've heard of the Shriners Hospital. That's another sector of the Masonic Lodge, but everybody in it's Masons. The children that get worked on there for whatever their ailment doesn't cost them a dime. Same way with the Shriners Burn Hospital, all that. It doesn't cost them a dime, or the family, to do it. So that's what I like, being associated with something like that.
We also have the Fantastic Teeth program, where every Masonic Lodge in the state of Texas, we get toothbrush kits for every first grader. So our region is actually like bomb diggity bomb on that, right? We hand out the most toothbrushes out of all the other Masonic districts, and we get these toothbrushes to these kids, these first grade kids, 8 years old. You got to think about that. At 8 years old, the first time that I was a part of this charity, an 8-year-old came up and said, "Hey, I don't have to share a toothbrush with my brothers anymore." I mean, that's just like, that hits you right in the heart. We also have our other independent bodies, and each independent body has something that they do. We have the Scottish Rite, which is the building that we're in right now. The Scottish Rite Learning Center teaches teachers how to teach kids with dyslexia. We have the Shriners. The Shriners, they donate money and raise money for the Shriners Children's Hospital. We have the Grotto. They raise money for special smiles for special kids. So kids with cleft palate, CP, any smile that needs to have some sort of dental surgery to give a kid confidence, we provide surgeries for those.
And what do you all do specifically in Lubbock, or how is the Masonry different for here in Lubbock than it would be somewhere else?
I think it's probably very similar to what it would be in other places. Texas Masonry, on the other hand, there is a collegiality among Texas Masons that I think is unique and different from Masons in other states across the country. So there's just something about being a Texas Mason.
If you were living in the state of Texas right now, you can thank a Freemason. Almost everybody involved in the Texas independence was a Freemason. Sam Houston, Freemason. Anson Jones, Freemason. Davy Crockett, Freemason. James Bowie, Freemason. William B. Travis, Freemason. Juan Seguin, Freemason. Everybody involved in the Texas independence was Freemasonry, or was a Freemason. So really and truly, you got to look even past the independence of Texas or the Texas Revolution. You have to look into the American Revolution, because that's really what kind of tied it in. King George was not a Freemason, but there were, I want to say, 13 or 14 signers of the Constitution that were Freemasons. I believe that there were 15 signers of the Declaration of Independence that were Freemasons. So the Boston Tea Party Those guys were all Freemasons. And the honest reality of it is you have people like King James, the King James Bible. He was suspected to be a Freemason. And then you have other people who you can trace Masonic roots all the way back to the 1300s. So they thought that Freemasons were intertwined in the government at the deepest levels and weren't being honest with the people of the world.
That was the reason that Adolf Hitler also hated the Masons. And when he first invaded France, the first place he went to was the French Masonic lodges, because it would have held the roster for all the important people. And they actually, Germany did not give those books back until about 10 or 15 years ago as well. Yeah, everybody thinks that the roster for the Masonic Lodge holds all the important people in the universe. Well, you know who the important people of your city were before you knew who that went to lodge or not. The mayor is clearly posted. The preacher is posted who does that job. Yeah, with France, when France was invaded, that was the first place they went, because it had all the important people, where they lived, what rank they held in the lodge. You know, all the books were seized. And I got that from the rise and fall of the Third Reich. Everybody thinks it's something it's not.
If you could like tell anybody, like say there's like a conspiracy theorist who like thinks Freemasons, all they do is sacrifice goats and worship the devil. Like if you could just tell them anything, what would you tell them?
I've got a good one for you. I had a gentleman approach me one time when he found out I was a Mason, and he told me that we're a conspiracy theory, we're going to take over the world. Went into there's some stuff about Washington, D.C., where it's set up in a pentagram. And I told him he's right, we are going to take over the world, but only by one coffee shop at a time.